they showed a ruthless instinct which has been missing from the Indian women in the past. These players have been questioned for not being ruthless enough in the past. And when now they're doing exactly that, their actions have been called into question. Welcome back to OneCricket Unscripted. Today we're going to discuss about the hotly debated topic of Deepti Sharma running out Charlotte Dean. It has caused a lot of furor across the cricketing fraternity. There have been calls that Deepti's act was against the spirit of the game. So I just want to know what you think about it. What is your personal take?
So personally, if you ask me, the thing is that was Jhulan Goswami's last game, and she has been a servant of the game for the Indian side for a very long time. And of a player of her caliber, you definitely want a big send-off. And when in your last game you see that player getting booed out of the stadium, that just sends a wrong message. And other than that, even if you think of it from the batsman's perspective, according to the reports that have come out, the bowler warned her once or twice, but they accused that the bowler didn't warn her at all. So that is something that sticks to you, right? Because if you want to market someone, I'm not saying that you don't. It is definitely legal, it's in the rule books. But at least give her a warning, or at least just let her know that you're overstepping the line, please get back in.
Correct. So what you're saying is that the bowler should have warned, which she claims she has done. So it just comes down to whether you're going to believe Deepti Sharma or you're going to believe Charlotte Dean. Personally, I don't want to get into that debate as to who is speaking the truth or who's lying.
Okay, but just let's think it of as a perspective of the game, right? So England were already down at 55 for 6 at the moment, and then they stitched some good partnerships in that match, right? And then they just needed 16 runs if I remember right, and they had 1 wicket left. And then when you plan something out, Harmanpreet and Dipti, everyone talking just before the wicket and everything, that action
You
happens.
say they planned it, but I don't think it's a planned decision. These things are often instinctive, and if what Dipti says is to be believed, she said that she had warned Dean multiple times. So it's absolutely not planned. It was an instinctive decision. She did whatever she had to do. She informed the umpire about it, and she took a conscious decision that there's somebody who's crossing the rules, and then I'm just going to do what the ICC regulations allows me.
No, definitely, I agree with your point, but that to me looked like a desperate measure. And like, I know that you were in the game. India were definitely in the game. Were you so scared that you couldn't defend 16 runs or that you had to resort it? I'm not saying it is unfair or something like that.
It is not a question of being scared. It's not a question of ethics. When a sportsman takes the field, he or her, whatever, the basic duty is to play for the country, give it their best, and secure the win at all costs, as long as it is not something unfair. What Deepti did was perfectly within the rules. So there's no question of ethics or being against the spirit of the game. What she did was perfectly legitimate. So it's not about being scared of England winning the game. It's about doing what the situation demands.
Okay, let's just reverse the scenarios, right? So let's say that England were the bowling side and India were the batting side. If the same thing happened with an Indian batter, would you see the Indian crowd defending the bowler?
Look, with fans, it's always a subjective thing. Okay, there is always subjective bias when it comes to fans. If this was to happen to, say, Smriti Mandhana, they would not be happy with it. Even I wouldn't be happy with it. But I would never say that this was against the spirit of the game. This has been done multiple times. I'm not saying the Mankading law has been executed multiple times, but incidents like this has happened over the years. I can point out a couple of incidents. For example, in 2008, when England were playing New Zealand, I remember quite distinctly when Ryan Sidebottom, in his follow through after releasing the ball, he just barged into Grant Elliott, and the New Zealand batsman, he was on the floor, he was run out. The umpire called the England captain over, Paul Collingwood, and asked him if he wanted to withdraw his appeal and let Grant bat, just to be in the spirit of the game. England wanted the wicket instead, and Grant had to walk off the pitch. So I don't understand why England players, England fans are questioning this. They have done stuff like that, which can, put it in the category of not in the spirit of the game. Even the Ben Stokes incident during the 2019 World Cup, where the ball deflected off his bat and gave England valuable runs, 6 valuable runs in the final. So I don't understand this, If it suits me, I'm gonna back it. If not, I'm just gonna question it. If you are neutral with your perspective, if you are speaking without bias, you would have to back somebody who is following the rules. If it's within the rules, you can never call it against the spirit of the game.
Let's take the incident of Josh Butler and Ravichandran Ashwin. If you remember, Josh Butler looked shocked. He did not expect that. Same happened with Charlotte Dean. I don't believe, just coming from the same point again, a batter who has been warned twice or thrice wouldn't be in tears if that scenario happened. If someone would have been warned, I don't think. Now, I'm not going to say that who was lying or who was being the truthful person here, but still, you won't be in tears if the thing happens to you. If you're warned and then you see that happening.
Okay, this is a perfectly hypothetical situation. Why Charlotte Dean was crying after her dismissal, whether she was warned or not, like, a certain section of the fan base will choose to believe her, a certain section of the fan base will choose to believe Deepti. I'm on the fence. I don't want to take sides. What I'm trying to say is that I understand that cricket is a gentleman's game, but something that happened between these two teams, between these two players, it was perfectly within the rules that are permitted by ICC. So it is certainly not against the spirit of the game. You can argue that, okay, this is something that could be construed as unnecessary. But if you look at a team that is trying their best to win the game, the match is finely poised. Actually, not even finely poised. It was in England's favour, I'd say. They had a set batsman on the other end, and they could have easily won the game. India wanted to give Jhulan Goswami the perfect send-off by winning the match, by completing the series sweep. So they did whatever was necessary to win the game. That is what professionals do. They showed a ruthless instinct which has been missing from the Indian women in the past. These players have been questioned for not being ruthless enough in the past. And when now they're doing exactly that, their actions have been called into question. So these are the kind of teams who are prepared to do what the situation demands. They go on to win the big trophies. So I would just like to completely ignore the background noise which is coming against Deepti and say that people need to be a more open-minded and more objective as far as this situation is concerned.
So that was our take on what happened in the entire scenario. Now it's all up to you if you think that was fair or in the spirit of the game or not.